The only thing that we're interested in is putting money in your wallet. If you want to bet the fights, if you want to have a little bit of action, you are in the right place. With my partner, Ian Parker, I am Brett Okamoto.
We're ready to rock between our parlays, our props, our straight picks. It's time to make money. Let's go.
Let's go. 2023 is upon us, and the UFC is back in action this Saturday at the UFC Apex with a light heavyweight main event between Sean Strickland and Nassourdine Imavov. We are not even into 2023, the first card, and yet we've already had a main event change. Never change, MMA. Keep doing you. And this is something that we're just used to. And, of course, everybody changes sort of what they're going to be talking about, the stories, everything else. Ian Parker has to change his handicap for Saturday. Hey, man, I mean, you're used to this, though, right? I mean, there's just no sweat off your back when this thing happens to start off the year.
You know what? We just got to adapt. So far, 2023 has not taken it easy on us at all. We've been shot out of a cannon. But listen, we're here. We're essentially chameleons within the sport, and that's what we're here for. I did my homework. I'm ready to go. Like you said, let's do this thing.
I'm ready to go as well, man. It's been 4 weeks. We haven't had a show. We haven't had any fights. I know that Ian is very excited to be back. I am also very excited to be back, and thank you for joining us on the first show. It's going to be a fun show. We're going to do a little bit of predictions just for the year of 2023. Obviously, we're going to talk about UFC Fight Night, give you all of the picks, the prelim picks, the parlays, the long shot parlays, everything that you've come to love about this show. But before we get into it, usually what we do is we recap our last card. Obviously, that's been 4 weeks ago now. So what we're going to do is look back at how we started 2022. And hey, this show has a history of getting off to a hot start, Ian. Do you remember this hot start that you had at the beginning of 2022?
It's a little blurry, but bringing it up on that graphic makes it a lot more clear. Look, 6 straight main events is always fun. People love betting the main event. And hitting 4 straight parlays, people say that's a sucker's bet. Not for me. I love our parlays, and we tend to do pretty well. And I plan to go way better than 4 in a row this year. We got some heavy goals. We got some high standards this year. I want to top last year's numbers, and we're going to have some fun doing it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, we want to be at the top. We want to top last year's numbers, and we want to be on the plus by the end of the year. It's always nice to get off to a good start, man. I mean, you know that from even just a card, right? I mean, you start off, you dig yourself a little bit of hole, you got to climb yourself out of it. It's always nice to start on the up and up, which is what we did last year and hopefully what we do this year. So to start that off, we're going to look at the prelims of the UFC Fight Night this weekend on ESPN+. The prelims, we're going to look at the main card first. Main card, it starts at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, again on ESPN+. You've got the light heavyweight fight between Sean Strickland and Nassourdine Imavov. Really looking forward to talking to Ian about that one. Interesting odds. You see it as essentially a pick of -110 for each of them. You got Dan Ige taking on Damon Jackson, Puna Soriano taking on Roman Kopylov. A 5-fight main card. Looking forward to talking about all of these. So Ian, let's get to the main event here. Sean Strickland versus Nassourdine Imavov. Like I said, Imavov is supposed to be fighting Kelvin Gastelum this weekend. Kelvin Gastelum pulls off 5 days. Sean Strickland steps up. It's at 205 pounds. The guy has not had a training camp, and yet he's -110, the odds are, where Imavov was -220 against Kelvin Gastelum. That, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. What do you make of this line?
Well, look, if you're looking at someone like Sean Strickland, what I know about Sean, what I've heard from his gym, is that he's just always training. He's always in good shape. He never stops. You know, he didn't take a ton of damage in that Cannonier fight where he had any medical suspension. So he's been at it. Now, I guess he sees an opportunity here. He probably doesn't think much of Imavov, which to me is a big mistake. You know, and what you said is a good point. It is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen someone come in on 5 days' notice against someone who's been training a full camp for a 5-round main event and only in -110. Someone in Nassourdine Imavov, he is nasty. That fight against Edmund Shabazian, he showed so many different facets of the game. He showed the ground game. He showed his strike. He showed his cardio. Against Joaquin Buckley, you know, that 3rd round got a little hazy, but rounds 1 and 2, he looked great. So if cardio is not an issue for someone like Imavov, I think he should have the upper hand here. I think his striking may even be better. He looks fantastic from what I've seen out of him. He's a very smart fighter, high IQ. Doesn't make too many mistakes. We know that Strickland is a cardio guy. He really relies on that jab. Someone with such a big personality that talks the way he does, he doesn't fight that way, though. He talks about being a man's man. I don't even know what that means anymore because he literally in his last 2 fights, jab, 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 backwards. Against Imavov, if he's not worried about getting knocked out and he's not worried about pressure, then all he has to be worried about is a jab. If I'm Imavov, I push forward, I put forward pressure on him, I let the volume game play into my favor, and I'm going to go with Imavov here in this fight.
You're going to go with Imavov. Okay, I got to be honest here, and I'll give my thoughts on this fight, and you tell me sort of,
Please.
Your reaction to it. This fight scares me, man, and maybe it's just because I've lived in Vegas long enough that if you see something that doesn't make sense, it smells fishy, you just stay away from it, Ian. You don't bet on it. And to me, what this shows is that the odds makers are not sold on Imavov. Like we just mentioned, I mean, Sean Strickland's coming off of 2 losses, and yes, his last one was a pretty close one, but he just went 5 rounds with Jared Cannonier. Yes, he's a guy who stays in the gym, but it was the holidays. It was the end of the year. I mean, how active has this guy been? And if he's in the gym, there's a difference between being in the gym and then being in the gym for a fight. And then for the line to move down in this one, this to me looks like, oh, the odds makers kind of like Sean Strickland here, but I don't trust Sean Strickland because he gets in there and he doesn't really fight with a sense of urgency. He thought he beat Jared Cannonier, but you didn't really push the issue, Sean. I mean, I thought you didn't leave it all out there in there, so I don't really want to bet on Sean Strickland right now after the main event I just saw him in Jared Cannonier. So this fight scares me, Ian. Does it scare you at all, or will you be actually placing a bet on this fight?
You know what? I like everything you said. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the other side, the co-host of this show. I think you're right. For everything you really said, truly, truly valid across the board. There's no reason to trust Sean Strickland until he earns that trust. He doesn't listen to his coaches. He doesn't really do anything you expect out of him, and he just fights kind of conservative. And he admitted that after getting knocked out by the new champ, Pereira. But here's the thing. I think that with MMA and betting, this is where we got to take advantage of situations here. I think odds makers have it wrong. I think that they're giving Strickland the benefit of the doubt because of the level of competition he's fought recently. So, for example, they're going to rank Pereira's loss as, all right, well, he just lost to the champ. Fine. He just lost to Cannonier, who before that fought Israel Adesanya for the belt. And someone in Nassourdine Imavov is just on the way up. Imavov was a 2-1 favorite against Gastelum because Gastelum's lost and hasn't won since like 83. And Imavov's coming off, I believe, a nice little win streak. So that's where I think the odds kind of balance out. You have a guy in Strickland with the level of competition, Imavov on the way up, where we still don't really know everything about him yet. So this is a good test. And if he gets the win, huge name on his resume. If Strickland wins, maybe it gives him that confidence to go out there and fight like the Sean Strickland that goes out and gives interviews. Yep.
Real quick, as I mentioned, Sean Strickland kind of turns fights into sparring matches, which can be a good thing and a bad thing for him. Do you have an opinion on the total, or are we just taking Imavov, the side with Imavov for this first main event?
Look, when it comes to the odds here, I think the odds, being that they're almost even, Imavov there's plenty of value there if you want to take him. If you want to go Strickland, take it by decision because we know I don't see him finishing this fight. And again, with Imavov, we've never seen him go rounds 4 and 5. I have to assume, though, based on training for a 5-round main event, that his cardio will be there. And if Strickland doesn't push the pace, then I don't see any other reason to believe that. So I think Imavov to win at -110 is nice. Look, win by decision at +350 is pretty solid, too. We know it's hard to put away Sean Strickland unless you're Alex Pereira. But for me, Imavov is good enough at -110. If you want to get a little crazy with the prop, you got some options there.
Yeah, super interesting. +250 decision for Sean, +350 for Imavov. But the odds just for the side are -110. Interesting, man. It's an interesting main event to talk about from an odds perspective. Let's get to your prelim picks. And again, if you want the rest of Ian's main card picks, they were available in that graphic at the start of the show. But run us through the rest of your prelims that, again, you can find on ESPN Plus, Ian.
Sure, going right off the contender series. Claudio Ribeiro versus Al Hassan. This is going to be a banger. It's also not going to last very long. I like Ribeiro here. Rebecca, listen, -800. We're not taking him straight. If you've watched this show before, that's insane. Spoiler alert, he'll be in the parlay. I need to get some value out of him. Bashrat, this guy has looked really, really solid. I thought he was going to get a little bit of an uptick in competition, ranking-wise. I guess not, so we're going to see more K-Sham out of him. Another parlay piece. Nascimento coming off a win as a big underdog. I like him here as well. Dan Argueta, normally fighting at a lower weight class, didn't want to wait, so he's fighting, I believe, at 145. A new opponent. I like him here as well. Odds are really high, so be careful there. Charles Johnson, Jimmy Flick. Really weird fight. Johnson was -130. Now he is -400 or in the 300s. I like under 2.5. I'm curious to see how Flick is doing after coming out of retirement. And Brett, you know I'm a fan of this one. Zombie Girl versus Sijara Eubanks. Give me Zombie Girl plus 200. If Sijara can't get this fight to the ground, I think Cochera here has got the hands and the power to put her away.
So a lot of close odds on the main card, a lot of wide odds on the prelims. But, you know, that's not bad for the parlay, as you mentioned a couple times during those prelims. So what are we doing officially for the first parlay of 2023?
Yeah, look, heads up, this is going to be chalky. The payout is not going to be incredibly amazing, but I got to get some value on these favorites and not have to always play props. And it's the first card of the year, and 2023 has been insane. Give me Nurmagomedov, Rebecki, Basharat, and Nascimento. It's plus 107. It's essentially even money. It's low risk, not the highest reward, but for me, I want to start off the parlay with a win this year, and I like that one right there.
Yeah, man. I mean, like we always say, winning is what's most important, man. As long as we get the wins, that is all that matters. So where are we going with the best bets on this pretty interesting card? A lot of close odds, but then a lot of wide ones as well.
Yeah, good news was, and if you still missed that graphic at the beginning, most of the main card picks are on my best bets. In the main event, I am going to go with Nassourdine Imavov. I just think that the training camp, I think he is flying under the radar in this fight. Strickland just doesn't put enough pace and pressure on his opponents. I like Imavov here. Dan Ige, this is do or die for him. 3 losses in a row. Fought against top-level competition. He's fighting the surging Damon Jackson, who's coming off a nasty win over Pat Sabatini. But Pat Sabatini is not Josh Emmett. He's not Korean Zombie. He's not Calvin Kattar. I think Ige, if he can impose his will, go out there and pressure Jackson, he can get the win. Give me Puna Soriano over Roman Kopylov. Look, first off, I don't normally bet against Hawaiian guys who sound like Disney characters and who hit like a Mack truck. And that is exactly what Puna Soriano is here. We saw in his last fight, he could take a shot, but if you get hit by him, you're going down. He's got very underrated wrestling as well. Kelvin Vieira versus Rocky Pennington. Interesting here. I think Vieira's got more ways to win. I also think she's physically the stronger athlete. I like her here. And we're going to go back to Claudio Ribeiro in this fight. I like what I saw in the Contender Series. Al Hassan's one of those guys. If he doesn't put you to sleep, he loses. Give me Ribeiro as the last one of the best bets.
I like it, man. Well, you apologized for the short odds on the parlay. I don't think that'll be a problem with this next one because it is the long shot parlay. And what a way it would be to start 2023 if we hit the long shot. So where are we going, baby?
Yeah, you know what? On one side, not a great odds. This one, a little out of control. But we like the craziness. We like the chaos. Puna Soriano by KO, TKO. Hey, or even by DQ plus 150. Rebecki by KO, TKO at plus 100. Jimmy Flick. Now, this is a guy, yes, he's retired, but he's been training. Good submission guy, tough. And Charles Johnson has not really impressed me. I thought he lost that last fight against Zalgas. So if Flick can grab that guillotine, why not? And Zombie Girl plus 200. And Brett, I'll let you talk about this number because that's your favorite part. But look at that number if we hit it in the first card of the year.
You do. You know me so well. 56-1. Yeah, that gets the juices flowing, and that would be a heck of a way to start 2023. Okay, so to wrap up the first episode of UFC Best Bets, we are going to do a little bit of rapid fire of some predictions for this year. And my first question to you, Ian, is I don't know what you make, but your paycheck, who would you bet it on? One guy to bet your paycheck on in 2023. Who do you trust the most?
You know, for me, this is hard because when you talk about betting, odds come into play here. But if you're taking odds completely out of it, I got 2 people. You know, I know you asked for one. I got 2. One, Bo Nickel, because I think his next few fights, he's going to be fighting guys that he's going to absolutely demolish, destroy, that are not going to be able to handle his wrestling. Look, we saw him on the Contender Series twice. He's got Jamie Pickett coming up. This is one of those prospects that you see and you just go, listen, we know that if he gets fast-tracked, he's going to be all right. His stand-up has looked very good. The wrestling is second to none. He's very physical. I mean, this guy is just the real deal, and I'm excited to see him fight. Now, number 2, this is really not all that creative of an answer, but I think people are probably going to be a little surprised. Give me the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, the Lioness. I don't see anyone beating her in either division, and that's no disrespect to anyone else, whether it's Valentina Shevchenko, Juliana Pena. But when Amanda is at her best, she is the best. And we saw what she did in the second fight to Juliana Pena. I don't know who she fights next, whether it's the winner of Vieira versus Pennington or Valentina, but my money, regardless, is on Amanda Nunes. I'm curious to hear what you think about that.
First of all, though, what is this graphic? Depending on matchups? You can't put a caveat to who you're betting your paycheck on, Ian. You have to say one. Yeah, first, you gave 2 answers instead of 1, and then you gave a caveat in addition to that? I'm a little disappointed. Bo Nickel, are you picking Bo Nickel or not? Is he going? Because it's an interesting pick because he does not have much MMA experience. I think he will get fast tracked. Are we picking Bo Nickel? You got to make a one. You can't do the caveat.
All right, fine. Give me Bo Nickel. I support this prospect. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. Bo Nickel is a good pick. My pick, maybe it's because he's on my mind because he's on the main card this weekend. It's Umar Nurmagomedov. I talk to a lot of people, obviously, in this sport. Everyone is high on Umar. Everyone calls him a future champion. I mean, he's obviously got the pedigree. He comes from the camp. But he's not just a remake of Khabib, man. I mean, you see it in these photos. This guy can kick. He's very, very athletic, obviously very young, very, very committed, humble, everything that comes with it. I mean, these guys are just born and bred future champions. I think everybody knows it, and I think he's going to have a big 2023. I mean, we're talking about a lot of different guys at bantamweight. Bantamweight is fun, man. Bantamweight is stacked. A lot of different talent, but I think Umar might be the absolute best one. I guess we'll see. We will find out in 2023 because I think this guy's going to get some big fights. Okay, let's move on to the next question of 2023. It is, give me a graphic here because I didn't see it. Will Leon Edwards be a betting favorite in 2023? Interesting question. The often overlooked Leon Edwards, who is now the UFC welterweight champion. Will he be a betting favorite this year, Ian?
Well, since you're so against caveats, I'm not going to say depends on who he fights. But let's assume he is fighting Kamaru Usman. The answer is no. He will not be the betting favorite against Kamaru Usman. And the reason being is that for almost the entire fight, he was losing handedly until that kick happened. I don't take away the win here. He deserves to be the champ. Never give up. Chase the dreams, all that good stuff. However, Usman will be the favorite in that fight.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% think Leon is going to be a betting favorite in 2023. It won't be against Kamaru Usman, but I think win or lose. Well, I shouldn't say win or lose. I think he's going to fight Jorge Masvidal at some point in 2023, and he will be a favorite in that fight. So I am going to go ahead and say yes, Leon Edwards will be a favorite in 2023. Next one, it's a big one, Ian. Will we get to have action on Conor McGregor this year? Had you asked me that in 2022, I would have said yes. I definitely thought he would have fought in 2022. He did not. Is he going to fight in 2023? Will we have action on Conor McGregor at some point?
If he doesn't fight in 2023, then I have no confidence he's fighting ever again. There's a lot of talk on social media. He keeps flexing, showing how big he is. So, look, 170. Welcome to welterweight Conor. Will we be able to bet on a Conor fight this year? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Spoiler alert. More than likely, I'll be betting against Conor McGregor in 2023 as well. You tell me. Are you on the same page here?
Yeah, I do believe we'll see Conor McGregor fight. It's hard for me to be super, super confident about it because I probably would have been super confident about it in 2022. But yes, I strongly feel that the guy is going to fight in 2023. Let's move on to another one. Another one we've been talking about for a long time, and that is Jon Jones fighting at heavyweight. Will Jon Jones be a betting favorite or a betting underdog when he walks into the cage next, hopefully, fingers crossed, in 2023?
Well, if it's against who we all are hoping for, and let's just call it what it is, we're hoping it's Francis Ngannou, we're hoping it's for the heavyweight championship, and in that fight, he will not be the favorite. He can't be. He hasn't fought in a few years. He's never fought at heavyweight. And he would be fighting the champ in Francis Ngannou. So for me, I think that Jon Jones, for the first time ever, would be the betting underdog in that fight.
Wow, that's wild. Yeah, I guess it's kind of obvious when you think about it, but he's never been a betting underdog. Wow. And so he would be coming back. You know what, dude? I think he'd be a betting underdog against Cyril Gane. Am I wrong about that? What about Curtis Blades? I mean, he hasn't fought in 3 years, man. I mean, 3 years. Would he be a betting underdog against Cyril Gane and possibly even Curtis Blades?
You know what? That's a good point. I like that. I think against Cyril Gane, you may see an even money play, maybe be a little bit of an underdog. I think against Curtis Blades, he'd still be a favorite because you got to assume that it's going to be a lot of defensive wrestling, a lot of sprawling from Jon Jones, which we've seen him be very dominant. I don't know who's really been able to take him down, if ever, in any of these fights. Could Blades do it? Probably. That would be the only one I think he might be the favorite, but that would be a fun fight as well. Look, Jon Jones, if you're watching this show, just come back already. There's a lot of great matchups. Please, what else do we got to do here?
Yep, I agree. And I don't mean to leave Stipe Miocic out of that, but Miocic has been pretty quiet, so we'll see what happens if he fights in 2023.
Yeah,
okay,
that's all right.
To wrap it up, one bold prediction from you, Ian Parker, for 2023. A bold prediction for the year.
Bold prediction, I'm going to hit 5 long shots with this show this year, and it is going to happen, wait for it, you ready? Before International Fight Week in July.
Before
that is my bold
international
prediction.
Wow, dude. I mean, I obviously would love to see it. The odds are very much against you on that one. That is bold. I mean, to hit your first long shot is 56-1, and you're going to hit 5 of these things before July. That's optimistic. I love the optimism. I love the energy, baby. 56-1, and he's going to hit 5 of those things in 6 months.
You know what? Listen, we're here to win it. I'm going to do it. I want to hear it. I'm being pretty bold here. Let's see what you got. What do you got for us this year, Brett?
I got to say, I am a believer in the power of positive thinking. I truly am. I don't really believe in like hexes or like curses or anything. But I believe if you go like, especially when you're making a bet, you bet on a game. If you're optimistic about it, you're believing in good things. You're at the poker table. You believe you're going to get good cards. I believe I believe in the positive thinking. So for you to hit 5 of those things by July. I love it. I love the bold prediction. Mine is far, 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 far less bold. Definitely less bold than that. I wouldn't even say it's all that bold, even not compared to that. But I think we're going to bet on a fight between Chito Vera and Sean O'Malley. I think the table is just so set for this fight. O'Malley versus Chito. I don't know if there will be a title on the line, maybe an interim title. Depending on what happens, we'll see. But there will be a 5-round fight between Chito Vera and Sean O'Malley. I just think that it is a perfect storm of circumstances. It's a big-time fight. I think it'll be on a pay-per-view. I mean, I imagine it has to be on a pay-per-view. You can't put that fight on free TV because people are willing to pay for it. So I think we're going to see that fight on a pay-per-view in 2023. And before we wrap up the show, I will ask you, what do you think the line is in O'Malley versus Chito Vera right now?
I'm going to say that O'Malley minus 125 because of that win over Petr Yan, regardless of what people think, regardless of how we all scored that fight. Okay, O'Malley showed he deserved to be the top elite of the division, and I think that win's going to score him more points at odds makers than Chito over Dominic Cruz, even though that was a fantastic finish. And I just want to put it out there, not that bold. I'm disappointed in you, but I still love you anyway.
Well, I appreciate it, yeah. And that will be a very, very polarizing one. If Chito Vera goes off and beats Corey Sandhagen, which is a very, 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 very tough task, if Chito wins that fight and that fight is made, that is going to be a polarizing fight from a fan perspective and from a betting perspective. You're going to see a lot of money, I think, coming on both sides of that fight. It's going to be a very, very highly bet fight. All right, that's it for us. The first show of 2023. Hope you had a little fun. And more importantly, I hope we gave you some advice to put some money in your wallets early. Let's start hot. Let's stay hot all 2023. Stick around with us every week at UFC Best Bets. We'll see you next week.